Okay, my screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So maybe in the last class, I think we have completed this DWDM, right?
Yes, sir.
DWDM ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಾ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಲ್ವಾ?
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
Tunable optical fibers ಆಗಿತ್ತು OADM. ಇದು ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಫೈನ್. Optical amplifiers we were about to start. So basically, what is this optical amplifier? What is this optical amplifier? Can anyone tell me what is an optical amplifier? Huh? This is the last class at least, huh? You people please interact. What is an optical amplifier?
Sir, like which converts a faded optical signal into which regains it back to its original form.
Huh.
That's what an optical amplifier will do.
Fine. Okay. So usually, as you all know, whenever your signal it passes through your optical link, there will be. We already know that we will be adding repeaters because there will be a path loss. So when your path loss is going to exceed your the whatever the power margin that we have. So in order to regain its original thing, what we do, we amplify this optical signal with a particular repeater. Okay, where what basically it does is it is going to amplify the light signals without converting the optical signal property, without converting without changing its property, and also without changing your optical signal to the electrical signal. Okay, that means it is going to perform photon to electron conversions. That is, it is going to convert photon to electron conversions, and there are different methods even. Okay, so retiming, pulse shaping, then all these conversions will be done. So basically here the thing is we want to make it more what is the same property, that is the same without changing its property. We need to amplify so that it regains its original information and we'll be sending it. So there are different types of amplifiers in they are classified. They are semiconductor optical amplifiers, doped fibers amplifiers, DFA, and Raman amplifiers. These are the three amplifiers which I have mentioned here, I feel. Okay. So like that, different amplifiers are there. So here we will be discussing one type of amplifiers in the next slide. Here in this diagram, you can see the inline amplifiers, optical amplifiers, all those different types. That means here this is being used in diverse application. That is for your ultra long, for a short distance, you need not to have an optical amplifier, but for a long distance undersea links. So for that, we need this type of amplifiers in order to enhance the power level of an optical amplifier. Fine. So here many closely spaced wavelength channels, they are being transported. Okay, and this amplifier, whatever the amplifier which we select, it should have a wide spectral response range, and we need to be rely much on it. That means it should be a highly reliable one. Okay, that is one thing. And here in between it, there you can have few wavelengths can be either added or can be deleted or dropped based upon the requirement. So that option should also be there, because for example, if you say just in a normal this thing amplifier, you do you will be using a LPF and you will be removing the HPF, or you will be removing LPF some frequency. So by making use of a LPF and all those things. So similarly here also. That means here either it can add or it can delete some wavelengths, and at the same time it should be able to recover quickly from the rapid conversions or rapid input power variations. So for all these things, so there are many challenges even where these optical amplifiers, it needs to be performed. They're in the characteristics. Here, this diagram, it tells us the different type of, for example, this figure 1, it shows this inline amplifier. So this inline amplifier, the dispersion will be very small. So the main limitation to here is the repeater spacing that is causing the attenuation. So here it requires a complete regeneration. It is here the complete regeneration of the signal is done here. Okay. In what is a complete regeneration is of the signal is required, where a simple amplification factor amplification is sufficient, because the entire thing you are reproducing, you need not to remove something or add something or something like that. So the entire needs to be done. So only a simple amplification technique is used. So an inline amplifier, it is used. Okay. This sort of inline amplifiers will be used for the in order to compensate the transmission loss and also to increase the distance between the regenerative repeaters. Fine. So the second one is this one. It is a preamplifier. So what is this preamplifier? So here, this B diagram here, it is being shown a front preamplifiers. So before sending, you will be preamplifying it. So preamplifier, post amplifier, like that you have seen in the earlier block diagrams. So here it shows the diagram. In this diagram, it shows a preamplifier. Here what it does is a weak optical signal. It is basically amplified before photo detection. Okay. So that means whatever the thing that we receive, that signal will be amplified, so that the signal to noise ratio will be degradation will not be there. Either it can be compensated by your power amplifiers or thermal noise or such things. Next is a power booster amplifier. Next is a star coupler and all those things. So where in your power booster amplifier, this includes placing the devices immediately after the transmitter. So here you can optical transmitter. Next to this, you will be using a power booster. As the name itself, you are going to boost. Yeah, either you will be calling it as a power amplifier or a boost amplifier, where it is going to enhance the transmitted power. So which in turn increases the transmission distance. So if it is transmitted, if this so slow signal is being transmitted, so you can't transmit for a longer distance. When you amplify, when you boost it and send it, so it can be sent to a longer distance, so to hundreds of kilometers, based upon the gain and the losses of this. You need to consider the loss of this fiber, receiver, transmitter, all this is the entire thing. So by seeing to that, you can transmit it to a longer distance. And the last one is LAN booster amplifier. So what is this LAN booster amplifier? So usually in the previous example, we use the booster techniques. Such booster technique will be used in the preamplifier stage. So at the receiving stage, you will be not having. So in under distance transmission, so that will be hundreds of kilometers, more than hundreds of kilometers will be there. So there it requires some amplification need to be done. So in order to compensate, because since it runs for a longer distance, hundreds of kilometers, for example, it is 500 kilometers, for example, if you consider, So there you need to couple something. You need to, yeah, because such a long fiber will not be manufactured, and hence it needs to be coupled and all those things. That means joints need to be done. Multiple fibers need to be joined and test to be done. So where, due to which so many losses will be occurred during that. So for example, one might be the coupler link loss, power splitting loss. So like that, different losses will be there. Materials mismatch, a complete. So like that, you will be getting so at that time you will be using this land booster amplifiers and amplifiers. So which we can compensate for such losses. Okay. Next, there are a generic optical amplifier looks like an optical input signal will be given to which a medium will be there. What happens here is fiber to amplification. How it does is, so basically an input signal will be there. Sorry. Here and our input signal will be there, that is an optical input signal. So here we are saying that there is an amplifier, right? So here the medium is going to change. That means we are going to include an active medium within this. Okay, that is, we are going to use alloys of semiconductor materials from group 3 to group 5. So phosphorus, gallium, indium, arsenic, such a different term. So based upon the research and the type of applications, okay, there you will be used. You are using an active material, okay. So where again a pump source will be given here, a pump source will be given. So its function is to absorb the energy supply from the external source. So this pump is going to give some external energy. So this supplies energy to the whatever the electrons that comes. It use this pump. For example, here we have written an inline amplifier where here active medium to which a pump source will be there. So the function of the pump is to supply the energy from the external source. So what is this? Based upon the application again. So that transition takes place. With which the electron gains some energy, so that it will have an energy, so that it can transmit further. So with which what happens, once the pump gives the energy, the electrons, it goes to the higher level, alva. So once your electron gets an energy, it jumps to the higher excitation level. So in order to produce, that means a large number of electrons will be created, with which these triggered electrons will drop to a lower electrons through stimulated. Once it gets energy, it gets it comes back through stimulated energy. Once your stimulated emission takes place, a large number of electrons will be it generates, so that it is going to emit photons of equal energy, so that you'll be getting a large amplified optical output. Okay, that is what your generic basic not generic, it's a basic thing that takes place within an amplifier, okay, which is not been shown here, but actually in these inline amplifiers or any amplifier for that matter, it is the thing that takes place. Here we are going to use an active material. Due to this active material, which is going to be excited through some energy source, a large number of electrons will be liberated, and it will be moved to the higher levels. And again, when it comes back, it is going to stimulate, due to which all these things happen. You all know all those things, right? So different optical amplifiers are there, and they perform in different operating regions. For example, you take the erbium doped fibers. So this operates in the C band. So similarly, Raman fiber amplifier is there. So that operates in the range of 1260 to 1650 nanometer. Okay, presidium doped fluoride fiber optical, that operates in the O band. So like that, different amplifiers are there. that I mentioned here. Okay. So here let us consider here only one type of amplifier, that is the erbium doped fiber amplifiers. So these erbium doped amplifiers, as I said earlier, here the active material. So active material will be there to which a pump will be given. Okay. So here the active material that we are going to use in this amplifier, it is usually 10 to 30 meter length of optical fiber. Okay. So here it is very lightly doped with rare elements. See, that is not the general things we are not going to use. We are going to use the rare elements because of its property. Okay. The base material will take, and to the base material you are going to add the erbium, terbium, thulium, praseodymium. So like this, different materials you are going to use. But the standard host material will be standard silica only, or fluoride based glass or telluride glass. That is the base material to which you are doping with in order to enhance the photons. Okay, that is all. So here the operating region depends upon the material which you are going to use. Okay, which material you are going to use. Based upon that, it operates in the particular region. So these active materials which we are doping, lightly doping, so that is making to generate large number of electrons. Okay, whereas your host material decides in which region it operates. So this erbium dope, it operates in the 1530 to 1560 region. Okay. So suppose in case if I use tritium, yttrium or yttrium, something different the pronunciation. Okay, that if YB it is being used, so where it is going to increase your pumping efficiency and also the amplifier gain. Where this erbium it is going to operate in this particular region. So this configuration of your EDFA. So there are different combinations in which it operates. Okay, that is a co-direction pumping, a counter direction pumping, and a dual pumping. These are the three different types. Fine. So these erbium dope, these are being used, or it is again it will be by making of the doping level, by enhancing the doping level and other things. So it can operate even not only in the 1530 to 1560. It can be used in your S band and also the L band. Okay, here the transition takes place and fast decay will be done. Then after that, that means once it gets energy, there will be transition, right? Electrons. After that, again transition will be taking place. The photons will be released, due to which once photons are released due to electrons, after that spontaneous emission takes place. Once spontaneous emission takes place, again spontaneous absorption takes place. After this spontaneous absorption, again there is a chance of stimulated emission, continuous. So due to which there will be a continuous movement. So again here, even though it is going to give a spontaneous emission, but also there it, due to this process, it is going to add some amplifier noise. Okay, that is one more thing. So even though you can enhance, so but the disadvantage is that it is going to add some the amplifier noise. So as I said, there are different configurations in this erbium doped fiber amplifier. Okay, one such is co-directional pumping. So here the signal will be tapped, and the pump, you will be using a pump laser and erbium doped fiber. So the tap signal out will be there. So here the difference between these three is you will be using the materials in different places. That means either you will be using after the fibers or the pump lasers or later at the later stage. Okay, or you might use two times. For example, in the first one, that is a co-directional pumping, you will be using before the amplifiers. Okay, the pump will be used before the amplifiers. Once again. Sorry, yeah, in this your pump laser and the active material that will be used before uh, the fiber erbium doped fiber amplifiers, okay, or it is after the fiber amplifiers, then two in the two places. Okay, so that is wavelength selective coupler. So that means what I am trying to say here is the amplifier will be here. For example, should I will be using Jamboard once again. Production Jamboard use ಮಾಡೋದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, you imagine yourself that there is a amplifier here. Here in the previous stage there will be a wavelength selective coupler. To that you will be using one pump laser. So here the signal will be initially the signal will be sent. Here there will be a stage where wavelength selective coupler will be there. It is going to select and it is going to excite. Then that will be given to the amplifier. Okay, erbium doped fiber amplifier. That is one case. That is the co-directional. So the counter direction is, so here erbium doped fiber amplifier is there. After that, it is going to be wavelength selective will be done with the pump laser. Okay. In the dual pumping, as the name itself, dual pumping, it will be there. Pumping will be done at the two stages. That's all. Next topic is sonnet. So what is this sonnet? What is sonnet? Any one of you have given this presentation also, I feel. Okay. So the name sonnet is synchronous optical network, or in few cases they call it as SDH. So that's why the topic is sonnet / SDH. They call it as, sorry. In this, I forgot to write this sonnet / SDH. They say. So what is this sonnet / SDH means? In North America, they call it as synchronous optical network, whereas in other parts of the world they call it as SDH, that is synchronous digital hierarchy. This is basically a standard for our optical telecommunication transport, so which is going to transfer multiple digital bit streams synchronously over the optical fiber. Okay, so here we are going to discuss the concepts, its optical interfaces and all those things, right? So basically this was developed in order to replace the piezochronous digital hierarchy. This is all these things, PDH, SDH and all these things, I think you have studied in telecommunication, the same thing. So the thing is here, this sonnet, it is an advanced version of PDS. this is being developed in order to replace this, where this PDH was concentrating only on small amount of data were being transmitted, where this SONET has capability to transmit large amount of data, either it can be telephone data or any other data traffic. So on the same fiber without synchronization problems. That means it is going to synchronize and it is going to do that, okay, without any problems. So this basically it uses synchronous TDM multiplexing. So this is going to use a synchronous TDM multiplexing. So multiplexing, how multiplexing will be done? Multiplexing will be done by byte interleaving. So already I have done in computer network what is a bit interleaving and a byte interleaving, right? So this multiplexing, it is basically done using byte interleaving. So the transmission speed is between 155 megabits per second and it extends up to 2.5 Gbps based upon, okay. The structure will be like this. So your structure, basic structure, it is a two-dimensional structure. I have not written because already these things I think in your computer network also you have studied. I feel. Have you studied this SONET in computer network? ಓದಿದ್ದೀರಾ? No? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Fine. But frame structures, the designs ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ. Similarly, it is also there. So that's why I didn't add the diagram, but you can refer textbook later on. So that it is just the structural ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. It has got at 90 columns. You can imagine 90 columns and 9 rows of byte. So right, and one column to the path overhead, rest is for your data, okay. So your STS1 SONET is 90 bytes per row, 9 rows per frame and 8 bits or byte. So divided by what is 125 microsecond per frame. So your STS1, that is the first one, it is the frame, it will be able to carry 51.84 megabits per second. So this is how you will be calculating the capacity of your fiber, right? So this is capable of taking 51.84 megabits per. So this is called as STS1, that is synchronous transport signal 1. So this STS synchronous transport signal 1 has got 90 rows and 9 columns, where 90 rows means 90 bytes will be there. So each bytes will be having a 9 rows per. So 9 rows will be there per frame. Again, if you consider since it's a byte interleaving, 8 bits. So if you all multiply that, so the frame structure, time structure is 125 micro. So hence it boils down to 51.84 mega. So that means the signal rate, okay. It's the signal bit rate will be having, it is 51.84 megabits per second. Again, so by making use of this STS1, STS2 and STS3, you are increasing the this thing. That means you are multiplying it with the n value. That is 1, 3, 12, 24, 48 and up to 192. That is the standard ANSI T1. That standard through which you can enhance. Okay, higher rates are designated with STM1 because synchronous transpose module. That is, for example, if you consider STM3, so the basic level is 51.84. So into 3 STM1 M is 1 2 3 n level, right? So it is 3. So hence it is 155.52. Okay. Next, so basically this is configured as a ring type or a mesh topology. So basically, what is a topology? You all know. So either it will be a ring-like, or a mesh-like structure. Okay, that is a random structure. That is a topology. So basically, it defines 4 layers, namely the path line section, and the photonic layers. So these are called as one second. Before that, I want to tell you this ring, why it is being configured into ring or mesh topology. Why it is being configured as a ring or mesh topology? Because in order to create the loop diversity, that is a non-interrupted service. Okay, non-interrupted service protection, giving this thing. So that's why they are called as self-healing rings. Okay, because whatever the traffic that is flowing, it automatically can be switched to an alternate or standby path without failure or any degradation of the link segment. Okay, that is the beauty of the Sonnet or SDS. That means there will be no failure or there will be no degradation. That means it is going to switch from one path to the other path alternatively, or it is switched to the other alternative or a standby path. Okay. So there are different 8 possible combination of your ring type. Okay, between the nodes of a fiber, and the few are in the clockwise direction and the few are in the anti-clockwise direction. So that's why we are calling it the bidirectional ring. We call it this. We are taking a bidirection link. So once there is a failure in the link or degradation take place. So this switching, the line switching, there are line switching and the path switching there. Channels iರುತ್ತೆ. So it moves all signals of the entire channel to the protection fiber. Okay, protection fiber use ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So later on, this path switching, it will move individual payload channels through the other path. Okay, so basically there are 2 architecture which is famous, which is being used. So there are 8 type of architectures, out of which only 2 types of architectures are being used. Okay, one is 2 fiber unidirectional path switch direction. That is, we call it as UPSR. That is unidirectional path switch ring. So the other one is 2 fiber or 4 fiber bidirectional line switch ring. That is BLSR. Bidirectional line switch ring, BLSR. Okay, either BLSR or UPSR. That is a unidirectional path switch fiber. That I will be explaining little later. Okay, the architecture. So here, as I said, it is going to be defined in 4 layers. That is a path, line, section, and photonic. So this path layer, and line layer and section layer, it is in the second layer of your OSI model. So which is the second layer of your OSI model? Which is your second layer?
Data link, sir.
It is the data link layer, yes. So these 3 layers comes within the data line, and this photonic, it comes to the physical layer. So here path layer, it is basically responsible for the movement of the signal from its optical source to its destination. So line layer is the movement of a signal across the physical line, whereas it's not there in the textbook. This is in the which textbook? Okay, Raju Ramaswamy. In the textbook I have taken this section layer, which is responsible for the movements of the signals across the physical section, handling framing, scrambling, and error control. Okay, whereas the photonic layer, it corresponds to the physical layer of OSI model. So that's why I told you these 3 layers are used in the data link layer, whereas this photonic layer is going to correspond to the physical layer of your OSI model. So here you can see the architecture. Here the top one, this shows you BLSR. What is this BLSR? It is bidirectional lines switch ring. So basically, in generally, how, for example, if I consider four nodes here, before to this, I'll just tell you a simple four networks. So there is a primary path. For example, if I consider this is a primary path, here bidirection is there, is beta. So you imagine just in the architecture, only four nodes are there. Four nodes are connected by a single way. For example, like this, one cable it runs from like this. So that is the primary path. Primary path. So the protection path will be in this direction, reverse direction. Reverse direction. Okay. So the primary path will be from here. It transmits in this direction. For example, it is a clockwise. So the protection path will be in the reverse direction. That is what the general thing is. So, for example, if I want to transmit from node 1 to node 3, then what happens? Either you can, for example, I will be sending through, because my primary path is in the clockwise direction, it will come in and it will be received in this direction. Whereas, if there is a issue where if this breaks down, what happens? Then this anti-clockwise, there is a protection path, this node 1, it travels in this direction and it comes to the node 3 and it is receiving the destination. So this is how the transmission takes place. That is UPSR, that is the unidirectional. If it is a unidirectional. So, but now what I am considering is a bidirectional. Here, that's why I told you not to take this. So, what I discussed is, told you now is it's a unidirectional. Now it is a bidirectional switch ring. So here you can see the difference, what I told and what is here. So this architecture, it is 4 fiber. So you can see here you have got four fibers and bidirectional line switch ring. Two primary fiber lines. Okay, with the segments 1P, 2P, 3P, 4P. Okay, through 8P. Here you have got 1P, 2P, and this is 3P, 4P, 5P, 4P and 5P. There is 6 is there, 6P, 8P is there. Yeah, 6P here, 6P, 7P, and 8P. Okay, you can see 1P, 2P, 3P, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is 1. This is usually used for normal bidirectional communication. And the other link, okay, which is we call it as a standard or a standby link. So which is used for protection purpose. Here you can see again one more. One is standby. P is the primary. Okay, S is the standby. 2, 3, 4. Okay, again 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 is. So like this, you have got one more. The one which you call it as a standby link. So the advantage is it can be used twice as much fiber cabling, and due to which there will be a traffic between two nodes is sent only partially. Okay. Next comes your diagram. This figure here. Suppose if breakdown takes place, what happens in a BLSR? Okay. What happens here? So the protection segment here you can see primary fiber. For example, if it takes place, it has to come here from here to here and this. So whenever there is the breakdown takes place here, it has to go in this way, but breakdown in the primary fiber, and it takes the secondary fiber or the standby fiber and again it bypasses there, and again it comes to the primary only, not to the secondary. Whereas in what is that, UPSR, in UPSR, that is unidirectional path switch string, there it was taking the secondary path only. But here what, whenever breakdown takes place, it takes the standby, but in the next node it takes to the regular primary node, this thing only. That is what the architecture with respect to UPSR. Fine. Next is dynamic gain equalizer. What is this dynamic gain equalizers? Basically, this dynamic gain equalizer, it is used to reduce the attenuation of the individual wavelength. This is an extra topic which I am telling you. So this is not there in your textbook again, and also not there in your syllabus, but I am telling just because you want to know an equalizer within, because you need to know devices. So when you say optical devices, at that time you need to talk about equalizers also. So that's the reason I am adding this topic. So basically that's why I have not taken in depth, but anyhow, you need to know that it is basically used to reduce the attenuation of the individual wavelength. So within the spectral band. What is that? What it is going to do? Basically, the function is to filter out the individual wavelength, and we are going to equalize them on a channel by channel basis. So you can see in here in this diagram, you have got output wavelength amplitudes, okay, from erbium doped fiber amplifier. For example, it is from some amplifiers. Then you are going to equalize. What is that? You will be filtering out the individual wave, and you are going to equalize them one by one channel by one channel, so that you will be get equalized wavelength amplitudes. Okay, so that means what you do is here you will be flattening them. Okay, so the applications basically it includes flattening the nonlinear gain profile of an optical amplifier, and also these are being used for compensation for variation in the transmission loss on the individual channel, transmission losses in the individual channels, okay, individual channels within the spectral bandwidth. That means for adding or dropping the selective wavelengths. So here in this diagram, you can see the gain profile. So this is here, it is there. So this will be controlled. That means you will be using software, or that means this thing, a processor will be there, microprocessor or something. So that controls based upon the feedback informations received from the performance monitoring card. Okay. Due to which whatever the feedback that gives, due to based upon that, you are going to equalize. So which allows a greater degree of agility in the responding to the power fluctuation. So with which changing whenever there is a network condition changes, that feedback will be given, due to which it is going to change the individual wavelength channel by channel, and it is going to give a equalized wavelength amplitude. Oh, sorry. Distributed network. So what is this distributed networks? So it is a network system over which computer programming software and its data, they are all spread out. You all know distributed networks. So now you are all doing project using distributed system only. One will be doing one part, other one will be doing one part. So like all these things, one simple task will be given to all four of you who are all spread across. And you all will be consolidating that, and you will be running it at one point, and you will be showing it as a demo for us, right? So it is the same way. But here we are making use of optical fibers in a distributed network. So how it is being used, it is a very vast subject. So simply I will use this simple thing, and I'm concluding is just to make you know that in this distributed networks, which you already, I think you have studied, in the computer networks, network cell distributed networks ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ವಾ? That itself is a single subject in distributed networks. So here the data will be spread across more than one computer, just as I said, but communicate complex messages through their nodes. You will be communicating this thing. That means you will be giving some input. For example, to run a particular block, it requires stage 1 in output. So stage 1 output will be sending from one of your friend. So that will be received. That is the complex message. So you will be getting message from your friend, and you will be taking that, and you will be running that, and are dependent upon each other. So out from its output, your output will be it will be standing. That means it will be based upon your performance of the work. It depends upon the type of input that he gives. That means the output what he gives. That is the input for your system. Okay, so that is what your distributed networks. Next is the LAN. So what is this LAN? Local area network. So this local area network, here fiber optic cable is also used in your LANs, as you all know. Okay, so this distributed networks. So I just wanted to add one more thing. So you all know, I have heard of this blockchain, right? So this blockchain technology, for that your distributed networks is being used. So how it is being used, where it is being used? See, initially the work will be decentralized. So this decentralized distribution, first initially a single work will be decentralized, right? How it is decentralized? It is based upon the blockchain techniques. So that is again a booming area wherein you can think of working if you're interested. Okay, so wherein because next is a technology where this blockchain technology, all these things will be used. ಹೌದಾ? So decentralization ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ that too in their blockchain techniques will be used. Okay, already distributed network, that is a basic core concept. So there in the core concept you will be using different techniques, where blockchain is a one technology. That technology will be used for decentralized. So in order to enhance the performance and efficiency and all those things. Yeah, next comes topic of LAN. So LAN, this fiber optic cable is also used in your LANs. For example, your FTTH ನೋಡಿದಿರಲ್ವಾ, fiber to the home, FTTH ಅದು ಆಗಿದೆ. Fiber distributed data interface, that is the current LAN standards. Okay, so earlier initially LAN, it was using copper cables, Cat6, Cat4 cable ಎಲ್ಲ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು in the architecture in order to transmit data. So that all have been replaced using your optical fiber in order to get a higher bandwidth. Okay, passive optical LAN, that uses single mode fiber optic cables. They are smaller, lighter, and less susceptible to interfaces as the dominant medium. Okay, so that is with respect to your LAN. LAN only basically I need not to tell what is a LAN and other things. So you all know with your computer networks. Okay, next I just wanted to say that the topics in the syllabus has been completed, and the SLA component that is given in your syllabus is looks like this: ray tracing, fiber splicing, fiber fabrication, optical amplifiers, EDFA, airbeam doped fiber amplifier, SOE, ASC, system impact, chipping in single mode fibers, intensity modulation, and advanced topics in fibers and hakidare. So many of you covered these topics in your assignment, that is event. So advanced topic in fibers and kutidare, which there are many topics. Simply I have taken this orbital angular momentum as a topic. So I will be sharing paper on this orbital angular momentum. Okay, orbital angular momentum, with which what I can say is I'll be sharing a paper on that, due to which based upon that I'll be asking question, that is the 5th question as well as 14th and 15th question. Is that fine? Any questions? Any questions from your side?